Got in a taxi, never made it home. Found him dead, buried, hands sticking out of the ground with his wife's diamond wedding band shoved on one of his fingers.
Lincoln, I found a map of some kind.
Put what you got up on my screen. This crime scene was staged. There's no question the perp knows forensics.
Well, that's a scene from the blockbuster hit film based on the book The Bone Collector, written by none other than Jeffery Deaver. He's back with us now live in studio. Now, Jeffrey, quick question. When it comes to the casting of the movies, do you have any say in any of the creative or the casting that goes into that?
I'm going to illustrate right now my involvement in the making of the Bone Collector. From my, you're looking nervous now, don't worry.
Yeah,
from my book,
out of your pocket?
It's a pen, right? And I received in the mail this piece of paper called a check. And I endorsed it, paid in the order of Jeffery Deaver. I signed it, put it to the bank, gave it to the bank. That was literally my involvement. Yeah. But I cast it very quickly, I will say.
Now, I asked you in the segment before if a big compliment was if somebody says the book is better than the movie, but I also heard a rumor about you that the biggest compliment you could get is if someone reads one of your books and then chooses to go into forensics. Is that true? Yeah,
that has happened on more than one occasion. Because, you know, my books are, as I say, they're roller coasters. They move very quickly. I hope they're exciting, big twists and turns, but there's a lot of substance in them as well. And you know, we see a lot of novels now, thrillers, where it's kind of grim at the end. You just don't feel happy reading it. I want happy endings. I want to affirm law enforcement, certainly, you know, police do things occasionally that are wrong, but they're there for us. And the heroes are the cops in my book. And people have been moved to go into forensic science, have been moved to go into police work, and I'm very complimented by that.
What is it about Lincoln Rhymes that you think resonates with people? This is the 11th novel, correct?
That's a very good question. And for your viewers who may not be familiar, I don't think I've mentioned this before, but he is a quadriplegic. Now, he's a forensic detective, and yet he's somebody who doesn't get around very much. I created him because I was kind of tired of the action heroes that we've seen so much of. You know, we're down to the climax, the end of the show, and oh, there's no way he's going to get out of this, and he had a hidden gun somewhere. Or suddenly he remembers he knew how to karate kick somebody. But in the Lincoln Rhyme books, he is pure mind. He has to outthink the villain. And aren't we really all pure mind? I mean, aren't we all really our hearts and our souls and our minds and our intellect before we are our bodies? And you know, the book sells in tens of millions of copies, sell around the world, so people seem to resonate.
And you have a very unique background. You're an attorney, you breed dogs, there's a little folk singing in there. How does all that play when you write your books?
Well, it's interesting, Dawn. Okay, the law part, and you would know this as well. You would know this as well. You never go into a trial. You never plan a business deal without planning everything out ahead of time, so that when you go into court, there are no surprises. There are none of these Perry Mason moments where, oh, the surprise witness shows up. No, you have everything planned ahead of time. Well, that's my outline for the books. When I was a journalist, I learned how to interview and how to write well, because I do teach seminars, and I have to say, I chide my students a little bit on the air here. We probably need to be a little more diligent about putting together those sentences correctly, using adverbs and adjectives properly and commas and so forth. And the folk singing stuff, well, when I get writer's block, I pull out my guitar, and that helps me so I can sit down and I don't have to stare at the blank screen for too long.
Very cool. I love it.
This is just so interesting. Do you find yourself following a pattern for your Lincoln Rhyme novels?
Oh, well, very interesting you mentioned that, because I'll tell you how the Skin Collector came about. When I wrote The Bone Collector about 15 years ago, I was, well, at one point an interviewer had said, Mr. Deaver, what do you say to the charge that you're conniving and manipulative? And I said, thank you. Because I consider that, for writing this kind of book, what one has to be. Well, being conniving and manipulative, I left open a plot point in The Bone Collector. I let one of the bad guys slip away. And this was in the book, not in the movie. Well, that character I knew was going to come back at some point, and in The Skin Collector, 15 years later, here he is, influenced by The Bone Collector, but his crime has nothing to do with bones, it has to do with skin. And he's a psychotic tattoo artist who tattoos secret messages on his victims and taunts the police to figure out what's going on.
And he's been just mulling over his diabolic plan all these years.
Years later.
Sounds like a TV movie. Would you ever consider writing for a TV
would
series?
I love Breaking Bad. I don't have my phone with me because we're on set, but if I were to display it, it's a Walter White and Jesse Pinkman OtterBox screensaver kind of thing.
Stephen Michael Casado was on our show just last week.
No, really?
Yes.
Oh.
Just missed him.
Yeah. But we were talking, TV is where the most creative work is going on now. I would love a TV series. So if anyone out there is listening.
Well, you're the guy.
I
think you can do it.
Give Jeffrey a call or come see him in person because he is in town, like we said, for a book signing. It's happening tonight at the Dallas Barnes & Noble on Northwest Highway by Northpark Mall. It starts at 7 p.m. But get in line early because you need to get a wristband to ensure that you can meet this amazing author. Okay, thank you so much for being here. Congratulations to you.
Thanks to all of you.
And when we come back, we're sitting down with the man. He's known as the Dirt Doctor. See what he has to say about building your garden at home. That's when the broadcast continues.